just to share a little share, just 5 to 10 minutes, because I know you guys have to leave, and Ellie wants to organize a Myra Minion. Wow, you got me out of breath there. Okay, so I want to just focus on this one Gemara, this one beautiful story, and ask you what you think of it. The daughter of Caesar, Bar David Kaiser, said to Rabbi Yeshua ben Chananya on the bottom of Taanis, Zayin and Aleph, she says, why is there such great wisdom in such an ugly vessel? Why is there such great wisdom in such an ugly vessel? What was the answer he gave, Daniel?
Why is such wisdom in such an ugly vessel?
Do you remember the answer?
Because if the vessel, we're not supposed to be focusing on the vessel, we're supposed to be focusing on the vessel.
Oh, that's what Pirkei Avos says. Very good. Excellent. And what did he say? He told her, what did he tell her to do? He said, good. Where does your father keep his wine? Where does the father keep the wine? She said, he keeps the wine in. He keeps the vessel, the money, the pachra, in these klicheres, in these pottery utensils. So he says to her, but you are so fancy. You're so fancy. You're the king's daughter. Can you imagine? You have to put it in gold utensils. And of course, the story goes on. And so she told her father, don't put it in the pottery utensils, put it in the gold utensils. He pours in the gold utensils. What happens to it, Mo?
Becomes sour.
Becomes vinegar. Exactly. Mo, we've been studying together Gemara now for years and years. So many years. And so the wine turned into vinegar. And so the Caesar says to his daughter, what happened? She said, Rabbi Yeshua ben Chananya told me to do it. So he called to Rabbi Yeshua ben Chananya, and he says to Rabbi Yeshua ben Chananya, what happened? And so he said, I said to her like she said to me. Obviously, I just turned it back at her, because the wine can't be kept in gold, so too the Torah's wisdom cannot be kept in a beautiful utensil. And the Gemara says, but wait, there's a Geschmack question. Do you mean to say that if you're a good-looking guy, that means you're a Russia? That means you can't be a Torah scholar if you're a good-looking guy? And so the Gemara says, an interesting answer, which is it's not clear how we answer that. Rashi says, what does that mean? If those people would be uglier, Rashi says they would be even more learned. So first of all, let me just put that out there. Does anybody have an issue with this? Tom? He pointed at you. You have an issue with this? I have an issue with this. I don't accept this completely, because Hashem Yisbarach gave us a present. You know what that present is? Yes, but the present is our bodies. Hashem gave us our bodies. And our bodies, we're supposed to, can you imagine? Hashem gives us the greatest present in the world. He gives us our bodies, our neshama. And then he comes back, and we come back, he said, why didn't you take care of the present I gave you? I gave you your bodies. You don't take care of it. You don't exercise. You don't care what you eat. We have to take care of ourselves. It means we're watching what Hashem is giving us. We're not supposed to look. If you look disgusting, nobody's going to want to hear your Torah, right? If you sometimes you have a hard time respecting people who are speaking like that. Isn't that? Am I saying facts? It's called cap or no cap, right?
No cap.
So. Do we really accept what this Gemara is saying? No. So, yes, Sava's here to speak.
So the Gemara goes and clarifies this whole issue of being ugly, whatever the definition of ugly is. It's really, it says, if you're good looking, you won't be humble. And then right before this Gemara, it says, if you want to learn and reach your capacity, you have to be humble.
Exactly.
And
so Sava's got the wisdom. Let's give it up for Saba. Sava's got the wisdom. Before we delve deeper into Saba's wisdom, I just want to quote the Tosfos. The Tosfos says a different explanation. Tosfos says you don't have to be ugly. He says, if you hate the beauty. Now, what does that mean? I don't think it means that you hate the beauty, but it means that you hate the worship of beauty. if you hate the worship of beauty. The Gemara is very clear that what we're talking about here is arrogance. And there's a very fine line. Like sometimes if you're in the popular culture, there's a worship. That people are worshiping good looking, that people are worshiping the physical body in a way that could, God forbid, lead to idolatry. That people start worshiping it. That's very different from saying that a Torah scholar needs to not take care of themselves, needs to be ugly. I mean, that to me is just the opposite. We need, as everybody in this room, probably in your cultural place and campus, you're probably the super Jew. You're the super Jew. And when you go to work, Amitai, you're probably the most religious Jew that any of those people will ever meet. Like, I mean, it's like a fair thing.
It's not a high bar.
What? I mean, it's not a high bar, but the point is that we are all ambassadors of the Torah. And the Torah is not saying, this Gemara, the way I read it, is not saying, don't exercise. You have to exercise. You have to exercise. You should be, maybe when you're 20, you can get away with it. But when you're certainly my age, you can't get away with it without exercising. You have to recognize that serving Hashem needs to be a combination of the body and the soul, serving Hashem together. But what it means is the arrogance which is what Saba is saying, the arrogance that sometimes comes along with an Adonis type body, that is spiritual poison. To my mind, the antithesis of spirituality is arrogance. If God forbid, wherever there is arrogance, if you ever see arrogance in a teacher, that's who we have to run from. Because the arrogance is the opposite of spirituality. Because arrogance is saying that we are all that. But really, what are we? You know what we are, Tom? What are we? One word. You know what we are? We are worms and maggots. So it says in Pirkei Avos, we are worms and maggots. We will die. We will die, and when we will die, we will be eaten by worms and maggots. So the human being is worms and maggots. And if you think about these things, Pirkei Avos says we won't come to sin. So on the eve of Yom Noraim, what do we have to remember? We have to remember that Hashem Yisbarach gave us a body, and we have to take care of that body and use that body to serve God. But the antithesis of that body, the antithesis of serving God, is being arrogant as a result of that body. So that's what I take this lesson. He's saying, yes, we can't let it be, we can't only have the gold. What it has to be is a purposeful use of our body for the service of Hashem. Does anybody have any questions for this? Anybody have any questions? Max, you raising your hand? Yeah, I see you raising your hand. No questions, my friend? All right, shkoyach to everybody. Shkoyach. By the way, if you want